Hello everybody, welcome to another review. Today I'm going to be reviewing the brand new album by Stick to Your Guns, Keep Planting Flowers, their 8th record. It's a metalcore, hardcore punk band from the US, and this is the 8th record they've done, and their first one on Sharpton record label. So let's just rapid fire through. It's a short album, it's 24 minutes, and some of the songs don't even exceed 2 minutes, so let's go. We All Die Anyway. This one's fine, but I just don't think as an intro it really pulled me in as much as the next track does. I think the next track really works, whereas this kind of feels like it hypes up the next track. So as a proper song, it's kind of a waste for that regard. Spineless, yeah, that's the one I'm on about. Spineless is great, the energy's fantastic. It is definitely one of the most chaotic songs we've heard in a while from the band. It is just great. Spineless is anything but spineless. They definitely got a lot of spine and backbone for this. This one's great. Permanent Dark, probably my favourite track on the record. I love the melodies this one has. I love the kind of sort of aesthetic they bring to it, but then also intertwined with just some crazy chaotic moments that definitely intrigue me. So there's that. Invisible Rain, I don't think is quite as good as the other tracks, so at least Spineless and Permanent Dark. It has some good moments. I do like the instrumental, but I kind of find this one just to be a bit more barren. It wasn't really anything that really pulled me in this time. We kind of get a lot of good components with the Spineless and Permanent Dark, and Invisible Rain doesn't quite reel me in with anything. It's just kind of a standard song on the record. Severed Forever, this is a pickup from Invisible Rain. I like this one. It kind of reminds me of Spineless. It's just got a lot of really fun momentum to it, and it definitely holds up nicer. Some great instrumentation, some great drumming. I like this one a lot. More Than a Witness, we're kind of dipping back into Invisible Rain in my opinion. It's just not really as fun to me. I don't know if it's just that half the singles were good and the other half weren't, but I just don't think it's quite as thrilling to me. It's still decent, there's still some good stuff, good sounds with it, but yeah, More Than a Witness, it's fine. Keep Planting Flowers, this is a very interesting pick. I feel like this would have been the last track and it would have worked better, because I'll just get to the last track in a bit, but Keep Planting Flowers is a slower song. It doesn't really have the chaotic rampage of hardcore punk meets metalcore sound that you get from a lot of these bands. The energy is quite soft, but the vocals are still pretty gritty. I haven't said that, and I didn't know that rhymed, so that was kind of clever. Keep Planting Flowers has this more emotional depth to it, which is quite nice, and I think it's good. I just don't think it benefits from being a song that just kind of disrupts the flow, so then dives straight into the meat again. I don't mind, because some albums work with that, but if it's a rapid fire album, normally you'd have this at the start or the end, as bands like Knocked Loose have done that with Sit and Mourn. Like, the slower, more melodic, more serious toned track probably would benefit from being at the end. It's fine, but I'm not really that big on it, and I just think it would have benefit better if it was on a different spot. Eats Me Up, probably one of my favourite non-singles. I love the energy, the chorus is just really good, and the overall sound just works great. This definitely feels like Spineless, but less heavy, and I just like the chorus on it, but I think it's still got some absolute kick-ass instrumentation. Who Needs Who is a interesting track. It's 54 seconds and it features Terror. The problem is I didn't really notice the feature listening to this track twice, and I feel like the first time I listened to it I sneezed and the album just told me that it's on the last track. Really? I just listened to Who Needs Who and I didn't even know that. I don't even know what I listened to, because it just went by so quick. At least it feels it blends in the sound of Stick to Your Guns, but I don't really know how much is in the track. It just goes by so quick. I know there's been short songs before. I mean, Moss Covers All is, 30 seconds by Knocked Loose, but I just don't think this one really brings anything to the table, and Terror I didn't really notice was there, so yeah, it's fine. Just not really that big on it. And Hate For You, yeah, I feel like this shouldn't really be the closing track. It just feels like a standard track from the record, and I think Keep Planting Flowers would have been so much better as an album closer than this. This had the biggest hype for me because it had Sea Space Cowboy, a band I absolutely like. The Coup de Grace record is insanely good, and I was interested to see how they would blend their sounds together, being both pretty hard hitting banging bands, but I didn't really notice Sea Space Cowboy much here. It was just a waste potential. It just felt entirely like stick to your guns, and I feel like I could have just. If I didn't even see Sea Space Cowboy was there, I wouldn't even notice they were there. They had little impact to it, and it just felt kind of like a little platform to make the song stand out a bit more. It doesn't really stand out, and I feel like that's the problem I have with this record, is that the songs try and stand out, but there isn't much to it. There's some really good songs that do, but then the songs they try and make stand out just don't necessarily do it. It's hard to explain. It is just that a bunch of songs don't need to try and they work. A bunch of songs just feel like they try a bit and they just don't quite work. I can see people really clicking with this record, and I think there are absolute gems. As I said, Spineless, Permanent Dark, Severed Forever, Eats Me Up. Like, these tracks are great, but then I find the other half just to kind of be not quite. I'm not going to say anything on this is bad or quality. I think the album is pretty good, and as a matter of fact, it is very consistent and a lot stronger than Spectre, the previous record, which I felt had a lot of flaws into the structure they're going for, but this definitely is a nice, refreshing change of pace. You got some pretty good moments, you just got some pretty good gems, but I find a lot of the, just a lot of it, at least half the record, just doesn't stand out to me. I just find it to kind of be a bit repetitive, and doesn't really bring anything in, and plus the flow of the songs are a bit weird, so it kind of makes it a bit of a jumbled record. You get some absolute bangers. I think the first half is stronger by far, because a lot more of my favourites are there, but the second half still doesn't really dip too far. I say it's a decent amount of quality, just not quite as good as the first, but I'm in the minority because the amount of people I've seen that said prefer the second. I guess I just don't know what I'm missing, but stick to your guns. I think this is still a good album. I'm going to give it a 3 out of 5. It's still fun. It probably is the best album I've reviewed this year, so yeah, hope you all enjoy. Thanks so much for watching, and see you next video.